is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? It is your boy MM2K back again with the other host, Jack Deslippe. Jack, how are you doing today, my good friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I think this is like the favorite hour of my month every month.
Oh, wow. I gotta let my wife know. People like me, honey. You gotta be nicer to me. I gotta let her know. Uh, with that said, we are back with the number show for Stadia, Jack and I. Man, this is one of my favorite hours as well because Jack is just a whiz at this stuff. You guys all know that's why you, ladies and gentlemen, have been waiting patiently in the chat. Shout out to all of you because this is some great stuff to go over. So is just as excited as you are on the other end of this mic. Trust me, I am as well. So, with no further ado, I think we're going to turn it over to Jack, right? And let's get into it. But you know what? Let me shout out the chat real quick. Thank you so much because you guys have been waiting here patiently. I let Jack know. I said, wow, man, it's a packed house. We got Cloud Gaming Dad said, love this show. We got Lord Vivek. I think I know that guy. He says, highly interesting. Charles Aran, Endeavor, Junior Thanos. We got our good friend Vet Cloud Gaming. Hi, everyone. Shout out to you. We got Dominic in the house. Dominic, we're about to fix something here because for some reason you're not a moderator, but you are now. Oh, we got this crazy guy Aminar in the house. Someone get him a muzzle. Jazz Belly, good to see you again. Thank you so much, Jazz. And we got to fix something as well. Jazz, you're a moderator. What is wrong with me? I don't know what's going on with YouTube. We got Tubaj313 in the house. And we got Dre and Calvin Morgan. Good to see you. And G Million, don't start your stuff today. This is the grown folks stream, G Million. Don't start today. With that said, I'm turning it over to Jack. Jack, the floor is yours. What are the stats? What do they look like for May, my good friend?
All right, so this is our second episode, and I think we're kind of converging on a format for the show. And so I think there's going to be kind of three segments to the show. The first is we're just gonna go over what the growth looked like for the month of May. The second is we're gonna look at some of the content creators themselves and kind of give shout outs to the folks who are really growing. And then the third is we're gonna kind of do a deep dive into some sort of topic or question each month. And so this month we're gonna be kind of answering the question about, is Stadia Pro worth it in terms of well, it's kind of a subjective question, but we'll try to see what the numbers show in terms of answering that question. So let's get going with the community growth topic. So I think if you were watching the show last month, you saw that one of the things I highlighted was that the growth on the community forum, like particularly in April, just kind of shot up pretty radically. Like it grew by a factor of 4x, and actually surpassed the growth rate even in December, which was this peak over here. I hope people can see the mouse.
Yep.
And last month I kind of was questioning whether this was real or not, and I think what I did was kind of come up with a random sampling of the new users, and then I was able to show that at least like 50% of it I could kind of confirm was real, and the other 50% was a little bit sort of harder to tell. It was either people who just didn't confirm their email address, or could have been bots or something like that.
Yeah.
But this really continued into May. I think it was pretty. You can see this is a pretty flat curve here for the growth rate, and so. I think it's kind of. I think it's good news. It's still a bit of a mystery where it's coming from, but one of the folks on Reddit pointed out that the community forum is now linked from every Stadia help page, where they at least thought it wasn't before, and so that I think that could definitely explain, at least some of this growth, if there's now kind of this new way of people finding that. The kind of the community page. So either way, it appears to be real in the sense that I can verify at least 50% of those new users are basically real.
Oh, okay.
And definitely coming from somewhere. And that new link could be the place.
Oh, okay, cool, great stuff.
So I also wanted to kind of highlight the growth of Google Stadia on Twitter. I don't know if people have noticed, but I feel like over the last like year, the Google Stadia Twitter account has kind of slowly upped its game in
Mm.
terms of engaging with the community, and like it seems like there was kind of a big change maybe about the kind of the beginning of this year, and then even in the last few months, I feel like there's been a kind of increase in the level of engagement and like the level of like just playfulness sort of
Yeah.
in the
Oh,
Twitter
yeah.
account. And I
Absolutely.
think that that appears to be kind of paying off. Well, one, you can see that the Google Stadia Twitter followers are kind of well outpacing these other cloud platforms. But if you look at the growth rate, and this is a little bit, sorry, this is a little bit messy, but this is basically the increase in the number of followers per month for each of these platforms. The blue one here is Stadia. And so
Gotcha.
you can see that this month was a particularly good month for
Hmm.
Stadia on Twitter. The only month that was ever better than it was
Yeah.
this December
Wow.
value.
Wow.
Um, one of the interesting spikes here, this is for Shadow. And
Oh, wow.
the reason why it spiked here, I think, is actually this is when they announced that they were filing for bankruptcy. And so I think a lot of people
Ah,
decided
okay.
maybe they
Okay.
should start following their Twitter account at that particular time. But so it turns out a little bit of bad news can actually maybe help you
Exactly. That
consolidate your follower count as well.
that good old cloud gamer FUD.
Okay, so let's move on. So in terms of the games released, May was a a slow month in terms of total games um, that were released. But we did pass 180 total games in the library, and we
Wow.
passed 80 cumulative pro games that have been kind of claimable since Stadia began. So we're getting close to that like 200 and 100 count, that I think will be pretty exciting for the community.
Stuff. Good stuff.
In terms of Reddit, I think there's not a whole lot to talk about here. I think the Reddit growth actually remained fairly constant. I think it was almost exactly the same as it was in April, somewhere between like 30 and 50 new people a day joining on Reddit. And it's kind of flat across the board for
Oh, okay.
all of these different platforms.
Yeah.
In terms of the Google Play review growth, things stayed relatively similar. I mean, I think we're slower than we were back in kind of the December, January timeframe, but pretty flat in comparison to the last couple months. One thing I did want to kind of talk about in regards to this is that there was sort of news articles that were based on the data from Sensor Tower
Yep.
about Stadia passing 3 million downloads this month. And I think 73% of those were apparently on Android. So they came up with this number. So I come up with this number of 2.2 million
Hmm.
downloads on Android. So my impression of this is that this estimate from Sensor Tower is really based on kind of public information, like the number of reviews, and then also just maybe device info that they've gathered from third-party partners. And so one of the things I was wondering is, can we do our own just based on the review count? And one of the things that we do know for sure is that Stadia passed 1 million downloads on Google Play on June 10th of last year, June 10th of 20. Um, so if you look at our data, unfortunately, I didn't start tracking this myself until July 21st, so about a little over a month after that date. Um, but if we just do a little quick and dirty projection back in time, I would estimate that there are about 9K. Actually, I think 9.6K is what the precise number is of reviews of the app in the Google Play Store on June 10th, just by kind of extending that line backwards a little bit. Um, and so if we assume that the number of downloads is proportional to the number of reviews, and this is a little dodgy, I'll admit, because if anything, probably the number of reviews like kind of trails the number of downloads by maybe like a month or two, because there's some delay between when people download the app versus review it. But
Yeah.
anyway, if we do this kind of quick assumption, then what we would estimate is that there have been 2.4 million downloads. So we just take the 23.5 thousand reviews that there are now, divided by 9.6, multiply that by 1 million, and you get these 2.4 million downloads. So
Okay.
this is
Okay.
actually pretty close to the estimate that the sensor tower data showed. So it's possible that this is kind of the main way that Sensor Tower estimates this data, but it's kind of nice to
Gotcha.
know
Yeah.
that maybe we could estimate it, we could kind of keep track of it ourselves over time by using
Yeah.
this review count data. Okay, and then I wanted to kind of look at the leaderboards and see what we can kind of glean from those. I think I didn't get to mention this on the last show, but I think this is some of the more interesting um, data that I've collected, is just tracking the size of the leaderboards over time. And so there's two here that I want to highlight. The first is Sniper Elite 4 and Zombie Army 4. And so these are kind of interesting because the games have leaderboards where you can kind of combine your progress across all the different game modes, multiplayer, single player, the different multiplayer formats onto one single combined leaderboard. And it really doesn't take very long to get on it. I think it probably takes a little bit longer on Zombie Army than Sniper Elite 4, but we're talking about like on the order of 10 minutes or something to get your name on the leaderboard. So these are kind of helpful to kind of show what's happening over time.
Yeah.
And so you can see Sniper Elite here kind of skyrocketed up to like the over 200,000
I see. Yeah.
stadians listed on the leaderboard. And then there was a notable sort of cusp here. And what this corresponds to is, I think, February 1st, when Sniper Elite left Stadia Pro. So it was no longer claimable.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
But I'll say that even over here, where we're looking at now, the Sniper Elite leaderboard is still growing by about 30 to 50 names a day, which is sort of interesting.
Wow. Okay.
My interpretation of that is that probably most of those people are, claimed it in pro back in the day, but just never got around to playing it, and are now kind of trying it out.
Me included. Yep.
Yeah. And then, one of the things that this data almost kind of visually makes you want to kind of conclude is that maybe Stadia Pro doubled it in 6 months, because surely not all pro members have played either of these games, but if we assume that their kind of interest is like the interest that they kind of provide to pro users would be about the same, then you might conclude that since Sniper Elite peaked at double the count, that maybe the total number of pro players had doubled.
Doubled as well.
And so I think there could be something there, but as I mentioned, there's kind of lots of unknowns. Like, we don't know how popular Sniper Elite 4 is versus Zombie Army 4.
Yeah. Yep.
We don't know what fraction of pro players played at any given time. So it's a little bit hard, but it could in principle suggest that there was growth there. Then looking at a few other leaderboards that I think are interesting, we can watch sort of the Orcs Must Die level 1 leaderboards over time. And so, unfortunately, unlike Sniper Elite 4, the leaderboards for Orcs Must Die are kind of split across a whole number of different areas. So there's a separate one for different difficulty levels. There's a separate one for whether you play co-op or single player. But I think this one is the biggest one, level 1 for the War Mage difficulty. And you can see that it continues to kind of grow pretty healthily over time. It's still, I think, about on the order of 50 new players a day. One of the things about the Orcs Must Die leaderboard is that they also deleted it 2 weeks, or they kind of refreshed it 2 weeks after it launched, and so we're kind of missing the most active time of the game.
Okay.
So we don't really know how much higher these really should be if you included those first 2 weeks. Another kind of surprise here is Monopoly. You see that Monopoly is over 20,000, has over 20,000 names on the leaderboard. Um, and I guess my last data point is about a month ago, just because this one is a little bit cumbersome to get. But that's a paid game. I guess you get it with Ubisoft Plus, but you had to pay one way or another to get
Exactly.
that game. So that's sort of interesting. And then one of the others I look at is The Crew 2. And one of the interesting things here is that if I look at the highest individual level, you can see it kind of growing here over time, and it's about the 8,000 number. But if you look at the total number of players in the game, it's up about 40,000. And so you can see that any single level doesn't really give you a whole picture of how many people have been trying to play the game.
Gotcha.
So I think there's a lot of sort of interesting information here. It's not particularly easy to just extrapolate from these leaderboards to like the total number of Stadia players, as we kind of attempted to do last month, but still a lot of interesting growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so here's one of the, if we take those two OMD or Orcs Must Die leaderboards and we plot their daily growth rates over time, you can see that there's big spike in December. And now we're converging to like around 40, 50 players being added to the leaderboard per day over time.
Okay.
And I think this is what you kind of expect that for as a game enters pro or something, it might have this sort of shape where it starts off really hot and then, converges to some level like that. Okay, so that was kind of the end of segment 1. So now moving on to segment 2 is what can we say about the the content creators who are kind of pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into this this platform and making great content around it.
Before we move forward, Jack, can I do something real quick? Speaking of content creation, shout out to Nimbus Cloud Gaming and Martino Vago, who have subscribed during this stuff. This is great stuff, y'all. So thank you for subscribing, and I can't wait till we go over more data. But yeah, thank you very much. Go ahead, Jack. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks. That's awesome. Okay, so in terms of YouTube content creators, so this is what it kind of looks like as we plot the kind of current status in terms of subscribers of all of the sort of top channels. One I want to kind of really highlight here is this. If you look at this curve here, this purple one.
Yep.
It's kind of gone sort of vertical in the last couple of weeks, and that's Shadow Ray. So this is actually probably one of like the community YouTube channels that people don't know a lot about, but it's kind of like a pure Destiny 2 channel where the person really is just kind of sharing a lot of tips and tricks about Destiny 2. Happens to use Stadia, mentions Stadia every once in a while, but is just, I think, gathering a lot of subscribers just from the Destiny 2 community in general. So if we look at the top growing YouTube creators in May, you can see that Shadow Wraith is actually number one because of that
awesome
that vertical jump at the end. And then you have a number of the players that you might expect: CGX, Cloud Gaming Extreme, Sony Cloud Gaming, and then big shout out to ES Stadia, who's doing awesome things with the Spanish community.
Yep.
Unlike last month, you didn't make your way onto the top 10 MMK, but if I were to extend it just by one, you would have been number 11.
Hey, look, just to interrupt you again, I'm sorry. Yeah, I see that. That's awesome stuff. But hey, we're going to make it next month because not only do we give a special shout out to Martino Vago in Nimbus Cloud, but right after that, Alyssa Franchi in X Gamer has subscribed. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. I'm sorry, Jack. Go ahead and proceed.
That's a good point. We should probably remind people of this. So we're going to be drawing for the 2 Stadia Premier Editions at the end of the episode, and I think you have to be a subscriber.
Yes.
To qualify. So go ahead and subscribe.
Yep.
Okay, so then, one of the other things I like to do is look at the growth by percentage instead of just by total number. And this gives kind of a boost to people who are just kind of getting started because they have a lower denominator. And so shout out here to Ellie, who's at who grew by almost 60% in the last month.
Shout out to Eli. Yes, good stuff.
A number of different channels listed here. I think if you're on both of these lists, then something pretty great
Yeah,
is happening with your channel. So like
absolutely.
Four Scars and Shadow Wraith, you could see
Yeah.
just have just totally pretty significant growth overall. And surprisingly, once again, if I were to extend this by just one, you would find that your other channel, Stadia Dosage, the streaming channel,
Yeah.
would be there at number 11. So
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, we're gonna make it next month.
right, sounds good. And then so in terms of like the Twitter community personalities, big shout out to Ray. I think I saw Ray in the chat earlier here.
Yes, Ray. Shout out to Ray.
He's kind of
Sneaky
the
Ray.
king of Twitter
Yes, he
for this
is.
month.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then big kudos to Stadia Source and Four Scars. I
Yes.
think also growing
Awesome
fantastically.
stuff. Yep.
Um, yeah, is Stadia Live is one of my new favorite
I love
new
him. I
favorite
love him.
accounts. This is like a little satirical
Yeah.
account that points out everybody who's called who's called Stadia dead in the past, and yet it's still alive here. And then Stadia TV, I believe, is like another Spanish um,
Yes.
an account that serves the Spanish community. Um, so kudos to all of these folks listed here. Um, so any before we go on to the kind of main event here, is Stadia Pro worth it? Um, any other comments or questions from the chat about the show so far? I'm just kind of scrolling through.
Yeah. No, I think everybody is impressed. We see comments like "Sunny is king," and congrats to Shadow Wraith. Yeah, I mean that's a great. Shout out to all of them. CGX, Sunny, Four Scars, our good buddy Four Scars, and all that. That's great stuff. Also, I want to give a shout out to Jason Flat, who's also subscribed. Thank you very much. And again, like Jack has said, if you want to be part of the giveaways that we're doing today on this show, you have to at least be subscribed to this channel. So, wanted to remind folks of that. But I'm sorry, Jack. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the main event then. So what does the data show about Stadia Pro and whether it's worth it or not?
Yeah.
So, the first step of this is to just talk about what you get if you ignore the game. So, what is sort of the value of the improvements to the unlimited streaming of games that you get with Stadia? And so, in particular, with Stadia Pro, you get 4K streaming, you get HDR, and you get 5.1 surround sound.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was trying to think about numbers that kind of reflect on this. So one of the numbers might be, you might consider 0. And what I mean by that is that for now, I think there's basically no difference in the server hardware. So, you're not really costing Google a whole lot more if you're streaming with 4K HDR and 5.1 surround sound. Maybe a little bit in terms of the power and then the cost of transferring the data. But it's not like you're on a completely separate server blade or something like that.
Yeah, that is true. Yep.
So I think one of the numbers is 0. But what I think is happening here is Google is probably likely setting a precedent for a future where potentially higher fidelity could come from newer hardware. So if there ever is a newer server blade, it's likely that you get access to those by Pro rather than the kind of free account. But 0 is really not what this costs Google, of course. The cost of actually hosting these server blades, the cost of powering them, the cost of the data transfers is non-zero. And so, trying to think about what that cost is, you can look at some of the competitors. So right now, Geforce now costs basically $10 for the non-grandfathered folks at least.
Mm-hmm.
And Shadow PC, which is probably actually the closest to like trying to be like a sustainable at this point,
Yeah.
is actually costs $29.99 if you want to create,
Whew.
if you want to sign up for a
Wow.
new account right
Yeah.
now. And when you think about it, that kind of makes sense because somebody had to pay for the hardware, somebody has to pay
Yeah.
for the power,
Yep.
and it's definitely not free. So um, the other relevant numbers I think is that if you consider the cost of like a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, you would at least get sort of 4 years
Mm-hmm.
of um, Stadia Stadia Pro for that price. And depending on which version and like whether you have to buy additional storage and things like that, it could it could be much more than 4 years. The cost, if you were to consider like a $1,200 gaming PC, would give you 10 years of Stadia Pro, and probably wouldn't even give you the top end system. So if you were trying to buy
Exactly.
yourself like a 3080 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
um, you'd have to go even higher. Um, so I think my conclusion here is that even if you forget about the games, you're getting a pretty good deal. And I mean, I think Google is clearly subsidizing the cost of this at this point, with the 9.99 kind of a month subscription. But there is this important step too, which is the monthly programs. And so this is very subjective, but um, let's sort of see what the numbers can tell us. And so um, one of the things I want to highlight is this work by InLead. So
Oh.
he's at in7ead in Twitter, and I think he's really collected the best data set for this. And so, what
Wow.
I want to do is kind of walk through some of the data that he has collected. But before I do so, I think if I could do kind of one pitch to the folks who are listening here, which would be to kind of support this person, and he's got a
Absolutely.
Patreon link here, that you can go in and you can, throw him like a coffee a month to keep doing this because I think it's really incredibly useful data for the community. We invited him to be on the show. I think he was really happy to participate, but I think
Mm-hmm.
he's got personal reasons for not being on any kind of YouTube shows, and so
Yeah.
um, I'm going to try to do my best to kind of walk through some of his data and see what we can conclude. So I'm actually going to show you kind of how easy it is to get here. Sorry, I realize I probably should open this tab beforehand. So
That's all right. But it's a pretty
I'm going to turn it
responsive
into
site, though.
to a lesson about how easy it is to get to his to his data. Um, Okay, so he's got this basically dashboard that is created in a tool called Tableau that kind of shows you everything and anything about the pro games. And so there are these four tabs here up at the top that I'll kind of talk through, and then we'll see what we conclude. Um, One of the first things is that it's pretty obvious that you're getting a fairly good value just from looking at the summary bar at the top. So one of the cool things is that you can customize this dashboard for your experience. So you can decide like when you started joining or which months you've been part of Pro. So as a start, let's just assume that we've been a part of Pro since the beginning. So that would be 20 months. So that would be essentially $200 if we ignore the fact that we all got like a whole bunch of free months in that period as well.
Exactly.
Um, so we've all then collected 86 games if we've been subscribed to the beginning. It's kind of cool that he's linked with Metacritic and put in their Metascore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he comes up with 802 hours of main story time.
Wow. Wow.
Um, and a net value of $2,259 for those 86 games. And so on first order, if you just divide the value that you're getting, 2,259, by the $200 that you would have spent if you didn't get free months. That gives you basically a factor of 10, 10x value in the pro subscription.
Yep.
So that's pretty significant. I think a 10x value. And the people are always saying, well, the games that are coming are not ones that I would have chosen myself.
Yep.
But at a 10x value, you basically only need to have played one out of every 10 games for it to have been worth it for you, which is a pretty significant.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Significant value. The other thing that you can see just from this number here, the 802 hours, is first I think this is actually pretty low, because if you play like me, it takes you like 4 times this to go through and be satisfied with your with your completion of a game. But 802 hours divided by $200 would give you a value of 4 hours per dollar, which is pretty darn good. If you compare that to like going to the movie theater and seeing a movie where you're getting like maybe 10 minutes per dollar or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Quarter of an hour per dollar. It's a pretty huge value. Okay, so that's kind of like some of the bigger picture stuff. So at the beginning here, you can see that you can check out the whole history of games, how long they lasted, and you can go down all the way to the end here and see the games that came out just this month. But let's go over let's do one other thing first. So what if we're just joining? So what if I say that I'm just joining in June? So I'll change this tab and I'll say I'm just joining in June. I click apply, and let's see, this page should refresh itself. Okay, yeah. So the top bar here has refreshed itself, and it will tell me like the games that I currently own, because they're the ones that are still around here in June, which is this is already a kind of a pretty cool interface. But one of the numbers I want to highlight here is it says that I'm getting in my like free month of June just about $800 worth of value to add to my library kind of right away. And I think that's a pretty cool statistic
that's awesome.
as well.
Yep. That's awesome.
Okay, so let's keep going. I'm going to switch this back to all. I'm going to go over to this second tab here, available games. And then, so some of these other tabs, he's kind of giving you statistics about how many games came out per month, what's the kind of cumulative number of games. And so that the number of games that have come out per month are what is shown in this first plot. And you can see that we started off pretty low. We were getting about 2 games per month. It kind of heated up a bit in the second half of last year. Yep. And so far this year, we've kind of been converging to this 4 games a month. Okay. This picture. And in terms of the total number of games available at any time, you can see that it peaked in December with 34 that were claimable. And on like June 1st, it was 29 games available, which is kind of cool. I think we'll see where this goes over time, but we'll probably maybe we'll stay around 30 games per month. Hard to say exactly. Yeah. And then this plot is sort of interesting. This is a plot of how long have games been in Pro? Like when they become claimable in Pro, how many months do they last?
Okay, gotcha.
So there appears to be a pretty big peak at about 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
There's a few games that only lasted 1 month. Mm-hmm. But then there's other games that have been on here for
over a year.
Left only once they were here for 13 months. So these are the games that expired. These are the ones that are still in there.
Okay.
And so I think there's one game here that's been in there and is still in there for 15 months. So if you hover over it, it tells you which one, which is PUBG.
That's awesome.
Which I guess PUBG wins the crown for being the longest running pro game.
Wow.
Yeah, and let's see what these other ones. Orcs Must Die 3. Yeah, those make sense.
Yep.
So anyway, some more cool stats on that tab. Let's go over to the next one. Okay, it's loading. Should be up here in a second.
We've abused the site and said no more. Now this is awesome stuff, and definitely, yeah. Everybody, please hit up the Patreon and give a coffee. I mean, this is great stuff.
Let's see. I might need to try to refresh the page.
Uh-oh.
I might have broken it. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna try to refresh it. Hopefully, I didn't break things. Okay, so we'll try to go to. Let's try one more time to go to Game Library, and then
see if that worked. Yep.
If not, we'll skip that one. Oh, here we go.
Right,
okay.
Here we go. Awesome.
Yeah, so this is a pretty cool one that just kind of goes through like the quality of the games that you're getting. So you can see here it's kind of listing games in different categories, ranking them based on their Metascore. And then here on this axis, you see the time to beat. I think one of the cooler plots on this page that I was looking at is this sort of scatter plot here, which shows you the on the y-axis the Metascore, and on the x-axis the time to beat. And so, I guess what a really good game would be a high Metascore and it takes a lot of time to beat.
Okay.
You can see that, I don't know what is this game down here? Let's see. Hello Neighbor, I guess, for some reason. That's actually a pretty beloved game, so I'm surprised the Metascore was so low. But for the most part, one of the things that I really like about Stadia as somebody who's kind of come back to gaming after like a year or so, like a decade or so almost of being absent, is the fact that, Google hasn't just gone back over the last few years and, asked anybody to port their game to Stadia.
Yes.
They've gone back and have kind of curated the best games from the last few games for the last few years. And those are the ones that are coming.
Yep.
Right. So I think that's kind of reflected here is that we have a lot of pretty high scoring games. If we go under subscription stats, let's see hopefully I don't break it again. So this one kind of tells you your the kind of value that you're getting over the course of your overall subscription. So this basically does that division that I kind of showed you talked about on the first tab, the benefit to cost ratio. So right now it's 11.3 to 1. You can again change and customize your which months you are subscribed. One of the cool things is you can actually choose disjoint groups. You can say I was subscribed these 3 months and then I canceled and then I joined again in May.
Okay, so you
actually get a pretty cool custom experience there.
That's awesome. That's great.
So this is basically sort of the value that you personally have been getting over time. For the different for each year. And then if you look at the benefit to cost ratio for each, for your circumstances, you can kind of see it on this plot as well, kind of as a function of time. And of course, your cost is just going up linearly, because this is not assuming what we all actually get, which is a bunch of free months for different reasons. Every time we buy a Chromebook or something like that, or buy and now when you invite somebody to Stadia Pro and they become a paying subscriber, you get a free month and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's this is basically InLead's dashboard, and so let's see what we can kind of conclude from all of that. I've been watching kind of InLead post this data on Reddit and Twitter for the last several months now, and it seems like in many of those posts, there's always somebody that comes in and whines about the fact that the price that is being used is the regular price and not like the lowest sale price.
Yeah, exactly.
And this always kind of makes me roll my eyes because there's kind of no there's no end in sight to how low you could possibly get a game. Like if you go to
Exactly.
a garage sale across the street or something,
Yep.
across the street or something like that, you can always kind of go lower. But I did, I've seen this comment enough that I did decide to sort of to see if we could answer the question of, if you were to consider sale prices instead of regular prices, does this change the conclusion much? And I want to give a shout out to this website, stadiadb.app, which is a great site that keeps tracks of sales. So you can go
Oh
to any game
wow.
and you can just actually read off the lowest sale price.
Okay.
Um,
That's
and
awesome.
and just to kind of give the complainers like the benefit of the doubt, I also used $0 for like Destiny 2 and Crata and
Okay.
Bomberman, just because they later became free to play.
Yep.
And so I went ahead and made a table of all the pro games and put down the lowest sale price, which is in blue, and then the regular price would be in red. So when there's a big difference between the blue and the red, that means that the game eventually went on sale by a significant amount. So like some of them, you can see Destiny 2, I basically set the sale price as
Exactly.
0.
It's zero. Yeah.
And some of these other games, like Super Hot MCD, went on sale pretty significantly at one point. So the people who are making these comments in the chat and in Reddit, I think, had a point
Hmm.
that we shouldn't, if you're savvy, and you kind of track sales, you could maybe buy these games cheaper than their regular price. And so in terms of how does this change the overall value, if we were to include the lowest sale price, it would drop the value from $2,259 or $2,259 to, a little over
Wow.
$1,400.
Wow. That's still great. Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, the point is that this changes it by less than a factor of two, and it's still really a fantastic value. It doesn't really change
Hmm.
the argument. The argument really at all. And so the other thing I would point out is that this does not include the convenience value of not having to be like a sale hunter and like wait to buy your game that you want to play until it goes on sale and that sort of and that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yep. Yep.
Um, okay. So I think the conclusions that we can draw here is that the value of the games you're getting in Pro are worth like, 6x to 11x the cost you paid for Pro, depending on whether you consider sales or not. Um, so basically, you can play less than one out of every 6 games and still break even. You are getting sort of over 4 hours of main storyline play per dollar. And then if you play the way that I play, one, it takes you like twice as long to just complete the story. And then two, you like to do some of the side quests and things like that, like that. So, um, I'm probably getting easily 4x that value. Um, and then finally, if you just joined Pro on June 1st, you got to claim 29 games that are worth $800 and that will never rotate out of your library. Um, so, yeah, sorry. So I guess my conclusion here is that no matter how you do it or how you know, no matter kind of how you add up the numbers, the value is extremely good
Hmm.
for the dollar. Unless you're the type of person who really wants to play just that one game,
Yeah.
then kind of any subscription model probably isn't for you, whether it's Game Pass or Stadia Pro or anything like that. If you just care about that one game, then you should buy that one game.
Absolutely. Yep. Good point.
Okay. So that brings us to our last segment, which is the poor journalism of the month. And so we got a little bit of flack for this, but I still I still like it. I think that poor journalism is still worth being pointing out and calling out. And I think that it is important to note that we're not calling out people. We're just kind of calling out the
The narrative.
journalism or like
Yeah.
the particular article and things like that. So
Exactly.
This month was actually a really competitive space. It was really a competitive month in this space. There were
It
lots of
was.
competitors.
Yes.
Um, but at the end of the day, we decided to give the nod to this
Uh,
Kotaku
oh,
article
oh,
that
these
Google says
guys.
everything at sea is fine as the water reaches their noses. And so at a high level, I feel like this article, they took some good news um, that came out in the Stadia press and decided to like figure out how can we turn this into to a negative. Like you really kind
Mhm.
of had to stretch to
Exactly.
turn this interview into a negative, but they somehow managed to do it. And I just want to point out, like, the reason why this is poor journalism is that it doesn't reflect reality in any way that the numbers kind of quantitatively show.
Yes.
Um, so if you look at what's happened this year so far, we've had 47 games that have been released on Stadia, including 10 AAA games. Um, so we're already kind of more than half at more than half of the 100 that have been promised. 48 we have 48 named and confirmed games that are coming to Stadia, of which I kind of classified 19 of those as AAA games, and so you can see all of those at this Reddit wiki page, which I think is pretty interesting, pretty useful page. And then on top of those 48 that have been named and confirmed, 20 more games have been rated by the ESRB, PEGI,
Wow.
etc., of which 7 are AAA games. And
AAA
so
games.
not only have we been continuing to get games, we have a lot of games that have been named, confirmed that are coming on the horizon, and even more that will likely be named and confirmed in the near future. Um, the numbers show that the Stadia metrics continue to grow, as we kind of talked about in the first segment. They're not growing as fast as they were in December, but I think they're still healthy. All indications point to Stadia doing about as well or better than any other of these sort of nascent cloud gaming platforms. So see,
Hmm.
last month's episode of this show.
Yep.
Um, and I think this one is sort of particularly important because I think Kotaku is sort of comparing Stadia against PlayStation or Xbox and saying the numbers are low,
Hmm.
but we should really be comparing it against these other
Cloud
players in
platforms.
the early cloud gaming
Yeah,
space.
absolutely.
Because if you ask the question, is Google going to give up? The answer's got to be the answer's got to be no, right? Because
Hmm.
everybody, I think, believes that cloud gaming is going to grow, and they're
Absolutely.
doing as well or better than anybody else.
Yes.
It would be like nobody decides to give up when they're in that situation. Um,
This would be a first.
um, and then the other thing that I think you've been doing a great job, MM2K, about pointing out is that Google continues to kind of roll out significant updates, Ubisoft Plus in Europe,
Hmm.
regular app websites, PWA
Yep.
support, new incentives, and they continue to hire, as you point out all the time, for a number of positions related to Stadia. Um, and the last thing I would point out here is that Google isn't even yet available in most of the world, including
Yes.
Australia, where these the Kotaku folks seem to have big opinions
uh,
about it.
yeah.
There's certainly plenty of room to grow, and so I don't think there's really any quantitative evidence to support the claim that Kotaku, like sort of the narrative that Kotaku has has been making and made in that particular piece. So that's the that's the poor journalism of the month for this month.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Thank you so much, Jack, for all that. I guess now were we going to turn it over to the giveaways?
Yeah, let's do the giveaways.
All right. So before we do that, though, I want to remind everybody to give everybody a fair chance because before you go to try to say raffle in the chat, because that's what you're going to do. Not yet. I'll let you know when. You're going to hit exclamation point, then raffle to get your ticket and be eligible for these premier giveaways. You got to be following the platform. So if you haven't already, do what our good friends recently, Jason Flatt and Michelle Lafredo, just done. They have subscribed to this channel. You got to be a subscriber, or when you go to hit raffle, it's going to go up into the ethos. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to do that, and I'm just going to reflect a little bit on why we're doing this Poor Journalism of the Month. I think it's key to bring attention to bad articles, not bad people. We are not labeling bad people, but bad articles, fallacies, things of that nature. Look, we want our I'm old school. Call me old school. I don't know how Jack feels about this. We'll get his thoughts on this too while we're waiting for everybody to decide whether they want to follow or participate. I am a steward of facts, of information. And if you're a journalist, I think being factual of how you pivot is just as important as a medical individual, someone in the medical field, being cognizant of germs or your life. And when you start making articles, even if they're opinion-based or not, and they don't pivot from any facts, to me, that's an issue. And I can lead the unsuspecting gamer or unsuspecting reader astray. So I think it's important that we have segments like this because we're showing you numbers and extrapolating data for a purpose to get you to a more factual realm. You know what I'm saying? To get you to a more fathomable belief system as far as how well the platform is doing. So I think it's important to line it up with things that are doing the direct opposite and give our take on why you should be cautious of those efforts. You know what I mean? So just to give you guys some food for thought, I also want to give a big shout out to our good friend Casino with the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, my good friend, for that. Antoine Sims, Emmanuel Salaranzo, Marcus G. Knight, have all subscribed. Marcus G. Knight also gave the $1.99 sticker, which for some reason it didn't show up, Marcus. I don't know why it's not showing up in the chat, but thank you so much. Oh, there it goes. Thank you so much for that. We got Antoine Sims that is subscribed. So I don't know, before we activate the raffle, Jack, do you have any thoughts on that? Because we got a lot of people subscribing right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you said it really well. This is not meant to attack people. I mean, I'm sure that these journalists are all great people, and I'm sure that most of the articles they write are really well defined and well researched. But I think it's worth calling out ones that don't kind of match the data, and are based on a narrative that doesn't match the data.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I guess it's time, folks. It's time for the raffle. So what are we doing? Are we giving away 1 or 2 Stadia Premier bundles, Jack?
I think we're doing 2.
All right. Okay. Shout out to Victor Del Maestro, also with the $1.49 super sticker with the hot dog. Thank you very much, sir. All right. So we're doing 2. So man, this is great stuff. Not only do you guys get all this tasty statistical goodness, but now we're giving out Stadia Premier bundles as well. Holy cow. And the subs keep on coming. All right, so I tell you what, let's do this. We'll give you guys a minute, and at 3:57 Eastern in a minute, we're doing a raffle. So I hope that you're following. Well, you know what? No. I'm sorry. I'm mixing up how this works. Cloud Gamer Dad, forgive me, because you gave me all this help yesterday. I should know better. We're going to start the raffle now. So I'm going to start the giveaway right now, what you're going to want to do. Okay, I just started it. Okay, give me a second to confirm that. Oh, it's still thinking. Come on. Did it come up in the chat yet? Okay, the first raffle is there. So you're going to want to hit !raffle right now. Let's go. All right.
And so just to be clear, if you had typed raffle before that Streamlabs message, I don't think it counted. So you got to do it again.
You got to do it again. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out, Jack. Yeah, absolutely. So you got it. If you did it before, that message popped up. You got to do it again. Now it's giving away the seat. Now it's giving away the tickets. So keep on going, my good friends. This is great stuff. Jack, can I ask you a question? How did you come across that tool? As we're letting everyone get their tickets, how did you come across that tool?
I saw it on some YouTube channel, and to be honest, I'm not a YouTuber, so I know nothing about how all this stuff works behind the scenes. But I saw it on some YouTube channel, and I was like, "That's very cool. We should do that, or I should partner with some YouTubers to do that." But I honestly can't remember what what channel it was, but there was somebody was doing some giveaway on some YouTube video I watched, and I just saw it and it looked cool.
Absolutely. I used to, long story short, I used to collect the same data for Xbox and PlayStation. They used to use this data, Jack, that I collected for more nefarious reasons. I was the data guy for debates. So when we would do debates for Broadband Bullies, I would have this data ready for our Broadband Bullies people, and the other guy wouldn't have this stuff, right? So the average Metacritic, I don't know what PlayStation's was at the time, but up until 2018, that's when I stopped. No, I'm sorry, 2019, that's when I stopped collecting the data. But for the exclusive games that Xbox One had up until 2019, the average Metacritic was 775. So for these pro games that are available and their average Metacritic to be 77, I mean, I think that shows. I mean, I know there are two different types of models, but that definitely shows the value that's in there. And I'm wondering, and I want your thoughts on this, Jack. I wonder if we do a straight Pro, I mean, or a PS Plus and a straight Game Pass Metacritic collection, would the Metacritics even be that high? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to. It's probably hard to speculate, but maybe we should do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we can do it, and we can comment on it on the next show.
Absolutely, that'd be some great stuff. Okay, we're going to close the raffle off right now. Thank you very much for everybody participating. Hold on, I got to refresh the page because I can't see anything. Come on, Streamlabs, don't do this to me now. Don't do this to me. All right. Okay, thank you for all the followers, giveaways. Okay, we're closing the entries. We got 36 entries, and we're closing them now. So bada boom, bada bing. The entries are closed. Okay? So now that the entries you can no longer enter, Milky LDD, you came in at the last moment, my friend. Good for you. And now we're gonna pick a winner, Jack. So let's let the system.
All right, let's do it.
Pick a winner. And let's go. And the winner is, the winner is Jason Benson. All right. Shout out to Jason Benson, who has won the first Premier Bundle. Jack, how would you want Jason to follow you on Twitter, or how are we going to do this?
Yeah, so at Jason, could you message me on Twitter, but could you also put your Twitter handle in here?
Okay, yeah. Do that, Jason.
Could you put your Twitter handle in the chat just so that we know that it's not some fake Jason that's messaging us?
Yeah. Jason, I hope you're still... Well, Jason, you should still be here. Yeah, everyone, yeah. Abudar, it's extra, even though it's over. Exclamation point raffle. But yeah, Jason, can you do that for us, good friend? Put your Twitter handle in here.
Yeah, and you can message me on Twitter. It's JDESLIP.
Right, we're just waiting for
Okay,
Jason.
And then how do we do the second one?
We do it the exact same way it's already set up. All I got to do is hit go. Before I do that, I want to make sure that Jason, because I know there's a little bit of a delay. I want to make sure that Jason actually puts his Twitter handle in here so it doesn't get lost in the sauce. Hey, Jason, not yet. Not yet. We didn't do the second giveaway yet. Just waiting for Jason to put his Twitter handle in there. I don't know if he's going to go to you on Twitter. Oh, he wrote you on Twitter?
I'll check and see.
Okay, all right. In that case, you want me to just... he says I wrote you on Twitter. Okay, in that case, hold on, guys. Don't do the hashtag or the exclamation raffle yet. You got to wait till the Steambot tells you it's okay to do so. All right, now, I guess we can do the second one. Let's complete it. Shout out to Jason. Thank you so much. We're going to close that one. And now it's time for the second giveaway. And we're going to start it now. All right. Exclamation raffle, everybody. Exclamation raffle. Do it now. Do it now. If you did it before, you're not. Hold on one second. Something. Hold on, guys. I just went. Okay. All righty. So do it now. If you did it before and you didn't wait until the Streamlabs bot told you to do so, do it now. Okay, there we go. Now it's assigning tickets. All right. I want to give a special shout out to Cloud Gamer Dad. Thank you so much, my friend, for helping me. I was pulling out the little bit of hair follicles I have left, trying to figure this damn thing out, and we got it all together. So thank you so much. And again, as a reminder, we're going to let this go for a couple minutes. I'm just going to chat it up with Jack. You got to be following this channel. If you're noticing that you're hitting exclamation raffle and you're not being assigned a ticket, it's because you're not following the channel. You have to be a follower of the channel in order to be eligible. So Jack, in looking at the data from December and the data from March, right? I'm sorry, the data from May, and you're seeing like spikes and things like I believe it was Twitter that you had said and so forth, where we haven't seen spikes like that since December. What do you think is attributing to those spikes?
Yeah, good question. So I think, December, I think, was kind of like coming together of a whole bunch of different factors. So Stadia rolled out to a bunch of new territories that month. Mm-hmm. There was a bunch of people coming on Stadia to try Cyberpunk, and there's the Cyberpunk promotion. There's also Ubisoft Plus rolling out to the US. December and November, December timeframe is just always pretty highly active in the consumer space. So it's no surprise that December was a hot month. Here in May, I think probably a few different things are happening. I think maybe the community growth we could maybe attribute to something like the maybe a new link or promotion of the forum happening somewhere. On Twitter, I think I think within the last week the Ubisoft news for Europe has definitely helped. I think the Resident Evil Village promotion probably has helped. And then I think it's hard to say for sure, but I personally feel like the Twitter presence has gotten kind of a lot more engaging over the last few months from whoever is doing it on the Stadia side.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. We see I think she goes by, I can't believe I forgot her name. She goes by Princessology. They've had new Stadia social media managers. They've been very active on that front, putting a lot of tweets and stuff out there that I really do like, and they're just doing well all together, man. I just think that their presence all together is pretty good. Hey, we're at 69 concurrent viewers. Now, let me say that, but let me precurse what I'm about to say with this, because those that are regular followers of this platform, I normally don't, push you guys and gals on this. But we got 69 people watching right now, and all 69 of you, depending upon if you're followers or not, will be eligible for this raffle. Jack just went over some numbers that were fantastic, great stuff. He introduced us to great tools that we can use in the future. And again, stuff even when we're going against the naysayers, just to have a little bit of fun, whatever, right? This is all great stuff, and this is stuff that you're not getting anywhere else courtesy of Jack. So can you do us a huge favor? We really appreciate it. Can we get those 54 likes up to 71? Can we do that? Can we try to get our likes to match our concurrent viewers? We appreciate it so much. Thank you. Let me see here. Oh man, you
right.
Good stuff.
You about ready to draw?
All right, so let's get ready to draw. Okay, Dario Demuso, I think you're going to probably be the last person to get a ticket because we're going to close the entries right now. All right, the entries are closed and we're about to pick our final winner. Are you ready, Jack? Are you ready for this?
I'm pumped.
All right. Our final winner for our second giveaway is Tubaj 313. Awesome stuff, good brother. Good to see you.
Nice.
Thank you so much. Awesome stuff, man.
So if Tubaj, if you could put your Twitter handle into the chat here, and then if you could message me on Twitter, JDESLIP, that'd be perfect, and we'll get this out to you.
Absolutely. So Tubaj, hopefully you're still around. Oh, Aminar, cut it out. he's such a jerk sometimes. Tubaj, if you're paying attention, hopefully you're still here, brother. You got to be here. Sheikh Capo said rigged. Sheikh, did you enter too? Shout out to Sheikh. I thought you didn't care for Stadia, but we appreciate you being here. You know you love Stadia. Tubaj, I know there's a delay. Hopefully Tubaj is here. Or how do we want to do this? I think we're doing this a little bit differently where because something may have happened, could have happened. I've seen Tubaj active throughout the whole chat through the show. While we're waiting for Tubaj, I want to do shout out Consano's comment. He says, on the Poor Journalism Award, I think not pushing back against poor journalism is just not an option in a digital world where people get their news from headlines. We can push back without attacking. Absolutely. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. That's why I said, do things in, I put a post out there, do things in decency and order. But yeah, I mean, this whole platform is based upon us trying to go past the smoke and mirrors and give you actual news and trying to create a place where, even if you do have some skepticism about the platform, you get the truth, and people that want to enjoy the platform and enjoy talking about it, all the things about it, can do so here without all the fallacies. That's the big thing. I don't see Tubaj in here, Jack, so I don't know what you want to do.
This is sort of the problem we had last month.
Yeah.
Let's give him 30 more seconds, and then we'll draw.
Okay.
Or maybe one more minute, and then we'll draw again, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And if if Tubaj, you're watching this later and you're bummed about it, come chat with me, and we'll see what we can do. But
absolutely, yeah. And I'd like to see you get it. Daz Adini in the house. Daz, how you doing, man? We're doing great, man. Shaw says re-roll. Yeah, we're gonna give him 30 more seconds. Yeah, man. I just think that it's important that we try to help gamers that are new to this tech, let alone the platform. They're new to this tech and the platform, and they want to make sure that they get the truth about it. I mean, we have followers of this platform, followers like Bibbidi Bop, and shout out to Squid. He's a content creator now, to where they said that they were held off at first, Jack, because they didn't know, because they heard all this bad stuff about the platform, and they thought, why would all these people say all these bad things if it's not true? You know what I mean? So it's important to point this stuff out, because people believe these publications when sometimes these publications might not have your best interest at heart. They might have a separate agenda. Okay. We're going to do it again. We're going to draw again. Tubaj, sorry. But again, as a reminder for next month, guys and gals, you got to be present. You can't just hit the raffle and disappear. So we're going to redraw again. So are you guys ready for the second redraw? Let's do it. And the winner is Sean L. Wow. Sean L is our winner of the redraw. Shout out to Sean L. Congratulations to you, my good friend. And thank you for your support. I guess your call to reroll worked out. So yeah, Sean L, can you please right now, my good friend? I hope you didn't say reroll and then you left. please right now. There you go. Okay, Sean, we need your Twitter account. So please give us your Twitter account so Jack can reach out to you and make the proper arrangements. All right. Shay Capo said, damn it, he's actually here. Yeah, Shawnell does deserve that one, Project Storm. Big time supporter. Thank you so much. I mean, we could be sitting there playing a harmonica here on the channel. Sean's the first one here. So shout out to him. Dancing Panda said, rigged! Oh, man. All right. So, come on, Shawnell, I see you're here. Can you please put your Twitter account here, or I mean, what do you want to do about this, Jack? I know he's here. He just responded.
Yeah, or message me on Twitter, JDESLIP.
Yeah, message Jack. I see people get so excited they might do a little dance or something like that, but we need that Twitter account. So, all right, so. Okay, Jack, I'm gonna put the show back in your hands. Okay, there he goes. He put it out there. He put it out.
Yeah, so we got it. Okay, so we're good. We got two winners today, and Tubaj, if you're feeling bummed, come message me and we'll see what we can do. Yeah, so I just want to thank everybody for joining. Thank everybody for subscribing. We'll be doing this again in another month.
Yes.
As I said, I think this is my favorite hour of the month. So
great stuff.
And thanks for putting this together, MM2K.
No problem. This is great educational stuff, and anything that works for the community works for me. So, with that said, thank you, everybody. Thank to the peak of 70 people that we had today. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Definitely check out our content. We talk all things Stadia here. We break down the latest and greatest in gaming news. And there's just a lot of stuff, too, that may fly under some's radar that we're talking about. So definitely, hopefully, you enjoy the content. We also got another channel called Stadia Dosage Streams. We're going to be active there again. Some things going on here, and hopefully we get settled within the week. So we'll definitely be back there. Shout out to Project Storm with all of his technical wizardry as well. We have Jack Deslippe with the numerical wizardry, and we got Project Storm with the technical wizardry. He has my streams looking super crispy with the desktop settings and everything. Check out the last, what is that game? Cyberpunk 2077. Check out my last Cyberpunk 2077 stream. You would swear it's from a top-line PC. So shout out to Project Storm for that. With that said, thank you all so much for coming through. Love you all. Appreciate you all. And with that said, you all have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.